The Venturer Plug and Play. A controller that you plug into your TV and play. 22 games, all for fun. All but one. Years ago, my mother had bought me something called a Venturer Plug and Play. I was little and didn't understand things like what a 16-bit game was, or even what a Nintendo console was. I used to play the Venturer quite often. It had 22 games. All of them were pretty crappy, but whatever, I liked it. But every time I'd play the Venturer, I had nightmares the following night. Why was that? I had no clue. Eventually I had forgotten about it, and the system got lost into my closet. But years later, in 2013, I was looking for odd games to review for a new channel I wanted to start on YouTube. I looked in my closet for some plug-and-play consoles. I knew I had a Spider-Man game and a Fantastic Four game, and I had 2 other plug-and-play consoles. Once I found the Venturer, I remembered that it was one of the other 2 consoles. The other one, I sadly don't remember, and I'll probably never find it. I began playing the Venturer to refresh my mind. Playing the Venturer again seemed pretty normal, just some decent, but also some crappy games. Before I started playing it though, it had a screen that said 22 games in one, but when I counted it, there were 23. I figured it was just a really stupid mistake. I played all of them. A few of them were Rad Racer rip-offs. One was a bullet hell, like the Danmaku games. There was also one about mowing grass, which was extremely boring. There were also games similar to Galaga. The games were kind of a mixed bag, some being okay and others being really awful. Finally I reached the 23rd game. It was called Venturer. I thought it was named this because it was the final game, and in reference to the console itself. When I pressed a button to enter the game started with the word Venturer displayed on the screen. The way it displayed was big and bold. I assumed I had to press start to play, but it didn't work. I tried some of the other buttons, but nothing else worked. I went to Google to search for a solution. I typed in the search box, Venturer plug and play problem, but nothing came up. I tried Venturer plug and play. I got some review pages on the plug and play, but nothing about any problems with the system. Then I began to question this thing's existence. So I searched up Venturer plug and play Wikipedia and Venturer plug and play history. Nothing came up. How the hell can this console have no history? There's always something known about it. But this game had nothing. No history. I was confused, and a tad bit scared for some reason. But I'm a paranoid person, so I thought this was just me being weird. I turned back to my TV, which I had left on the Venturer screen, and I noticed the screen was blank. I pressed some buttons again, and a face came up. Oh, was the game finally starting, I thought to myself, until I fully realised what was shown on the screen. A face with skin peeled to the point where the skin was almost bleeding was on the screen. The eyelids were non-existent. The eyes were pure white like a snowflake. The facial features were odd. The face seemed wrinkly, but the energy within it looked young. It was smiling, but I think it was forced to do so by whatever had created this image. The chin hung down like a long rope, and no teeth were seen in a wide open smile. The face screamed, worse than the Exorcist scream, in full volume on earplugs. I stared at the picture. The 23rd game was rather a test of my courage. That night I had a nightmare. The Venturer plug-and-play has no history and therefore may contain things that may differentiate from other Venturer plug-and-play systems. Anything is possible. Somewhere out there, someone may have witnessed something worse. But no matter what, everyone has a little Venturer in their life. Lots of people like to call it death. But the Venturer is what makes your life and the end of it a bit more grand. So that was the Venturer plug and play. Now before I talk about what I thought about the story, it's very interesting to point out that this is a real games console, but it's a very obscure system. So now I'm going to go into what I did like about the story first. The Venturer plug and play is a real games console, but it's very difficult to find any information about it. I'll post like a link in the description for some information about it, but very few people have talked about it, which really works well with this pasta. The person who wrote this creepypasta obviously is someone who has played this system, and like I said, not many people have played it and there's not much information about it, but it does exist, which adds a lot to the story. I really like that element of it. I liked the detail that the author went into about what types of games are on the system, the rip-offs of other games. You usually see that with these sort of cheap knockoff plug-and-play consoles. You see a lot of clones of much better games. Now, what I didn't like about this creepypasta, and it's interesting because I said this about the previous pasta that I read, the 64, the Super Mario one, the ending ruins it. Because it was all that build-up, all that pretty interesting stuff actually with the Venturer system, but all that build-up for what was basically just a screamer at the end. It's just a scary face. All that build-up for a scary face at the end. I was like, it felt like the author didn't really know how to end it. It felt like they didn't really know how to conclude after they had this really strong story throughout. I liked it throughout, but then at the payoff for all of that was there was a scary face that appeared on the screen. The author didn't really know which direction to take it, I felt, which is kind of disappointing, but aside from that, the Venturer is very interesting, that very few people have talked about it. This pasta could have been amazing. It could have been so good with that as a theme. So if the author were to rewrite this or whatever, or make a sequel to this, they could take that a lot further, the idea of this Venturer system. But that's all I have to say on it. What did you guys think of the pasta? Please let me know in the comments. I'll be reading more gaming creepypastas going forward. Please join the Discord if you'd like to. It's also in the description of this video. That's all from me. Brett out.